What's going on, everybody? Welcome in. Hope you had a nice Thanksgiving. Time to get back on track with the Wager Alarm live stream here. I'm your host, Howard Bender. With me, of course, is Craig Mish. And
happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving to you, Craig. Tell me about your holiday. Go ahead. Give me a quick synopsis.
Well, we did the traditional Thursday Thanksgiving more or less at the in-laws' house, and then on Friday we got out of town, went down to the Florida Keys, and spent the time down there. Friday, Saturday, and then Sunday drove back, and here we are.
Sounds great.
That was it.
Did you eat a ton? Did you eat a whole bunch of food?
No, you know what? I don't overdo it really for some reason on Thanksgiving. I enjoy the holiday, but no, I don't.
I don't. Yeah, me neither. Me neither.
You're looking trim, by the way. How's the workout schedule going, by the way? How's that?
Oh, it's going great, man. It's going absolutely. It's top notch. Can you tell? Do I look? I'm starting to look a little svelte here.
I
appreciate that.
You are. You're looking like Doug Martin a little.
Oh, dude, you just said that I'm a lousy running back, is what you just said. You literally just said that. Stop it with Doug Martin. Stop it. I'm about to welcome our new sponsor, or just talk about our new sponsor, and now you got to throw out Doug Martin at me? Come on, man. I mean, what is that? It's just a needless swipe. Martin's terrible.
Carolina's going to beat Seattle this week. You watch and see.
Carolina's going to beat Seattle? Carolina's not even playing Seattle this week.
They lost already. That's the point.
What are you talking about? I don't know what you're talking about, Craig. In any event, guys, we got a lot to cover here, but yes, I definitely want to bring in, and you guys can see it there across the bottom there, Bet DSI. If you're looking to place your bets and get paid, you want a top-notch place, Bet DSI is definitely where you want to be. They're going to be sponsoring the Wager Alarm live streams for the rest of 2018, so from now through the rest of December, say hello to our friends over at Bet DSI. Guys, they've been paying out winners for 20 years, all right? So long time in the business here. Very user-friendly site, very user-friendly on mobile. They pay out faster than other sites here. Right now, for all Wager Alarm users, if you guys are sitting there watching this live stream, write this down. Bet DSI is going to give new members, all right, 100% bonus match using the promo code ALARM100. So you throw in, what, $200? Guess what? You get $200 dripped from them at Bet DSI. So that's more than double your money just to start winning today. Promo code ALARM100. So go to fantasyalarm.com/bet. Use that promo code ALARM100. Bet DSI. We'll be checking in with them throughout the night here as well. So Craig, let's talk college first. Then we'll get to the Super Contest. It was not a good Super Contest week for us this past week again. And I gotta tell you, man, we took 2 Thanksgiving games, and because
I don't have any regrets with those.
I don't have any regrets with the picks. I thought we actually made decent picks. I think we got a little screwed.
Washington was on the 8-yard line on 3rd down. They get first down. They score a touchdown. They cover the game. Instead, they kicked a field goal because they were down 11 and they lost by 8. Nothing wrong with that. Atlanta.
I just hate putting in the picks. I just hate putting in the Sunday picks there on Thursday.
No, I understand, but even Atlanta. I mean, Ridley running for a touchdown, get fumbles, and they made all kinds of mistakes. I mean, honestly, of the 5 NFL games that we picked, the only one that Tennessee wasn't great either. Tennessee was a bad pick, but Indianapolis was a really bad pick. I guess Indy just decided that they could just sleepwalk through that game with Miami. They're lucky they won. They had no business even covering, and we took them. We took the Browns that won. So, look, there's a lesson to be learned, which is at 16 weeks out of the football season, or 17 weeks in this case, when you're in the Super Contest, in order to win, it just shows you how hard. You got to go 5-0 or 4-1 almost every single week to win this thing up until a point. And then you start going 3-2, 2-3, 1-4. Everyone mixes them in. The winner is only about 60% at the end of the season. But very clearly, you're going to have weeks that you're 1-4 or 2-3. So over 17 weeks, this has happened to us only twice. And it just happened to be back-to-back weeks. And so we'll probably go 4-1 or 3-2 the rest of the season, or maybe even 5-0. But as part of the 17-week process, you're going to win some, you're going to lose some. We had a chance very easily to win Washington, very easily to win Atlanta. So if those 2 games win, then we're 3-2. It's the difference in the fourth quarter with one play that usually changes things, and that's what happened. I really there's some weeks when we're 2-3 or we're 1-4 or 4-1, and I look at it and go, we got lucky or we got unlucky. This is what the NFL is, man. It's one play at the end of the game in with a spread that's going to decide it. So that's kind of the way it works.
Yeah, 100%. I agree with you there. It's just, I guess, I just pulled on that snowflake mentality of instant gratification, where all of a sudden you're on a nice hot streak and we're going 3-2 and 3-1-1. And then we hit back-to-back 4-1 weeks and we were feeling just unbelievable about it. So, for me, I guess that's just, get caught up in it. It excites me. I like, I'm having a lot of fun. I'm having a lot of fun doing these live streams with you. But
I'm having fun too. But we did go 2-1 in college.
We did go 2-1 in college.
We end the regular season at like 54%. And out of the whole year, we've played out, 14, 15 weeks with only 3 losing weeks. I mean, it's not going to get much better than that. And I hope next year we're able to continue and repeat that kind of success, but it's not guaranteed. Every year and every week is completely different. And this year we had a good year picking college games. I picked Navy against Tulane. Tulane was up 14 very early on in that game. Navy came all the way back. They should have won the game. They ended up covering. The line was 7. That was a really easy one. There was the Friday night game, which was the under in the was it Oklahoma State? Was it? I forget which game it was. I think it was Oklahoma State and TCU. Either way, we went 2-1. We won on it was Washington State. That game easily went under. I don't know if you saw it on TV, Howard. It was snowing like crazy on TV in that game in Washington on Friday night. And then the under in Kentucky, Louisville. Louisville's just so bad that Kentucky went over by themselves. So we finished that season 2-1. Now I will say this going into this week when we do our college picks. Remember that I still will do, I think, 3 picks going forward. But keep in mind, we're going from a 25 to 30 college football program to like 12 now. So I don't have the choice. And you as a sports bettor need to understand that when you don't have a choice, like, for example, just because there's a game on Monday night doesn't mean you have to bet it. And just because there's a game on Thursday night doesn't mean you have to bet it.
Wait, what?
And when the pool goes down and the games go down to this level, the lines are not going to move all that much. The lines get tighter, the information gets tighter, and it's much harder. But needless to say, there are more games than we thought this week in college because of the fact that there were a couple of games that were canceled because of the hurricane earlier in the year, and they're going to play these games now this week. And then, of course, where you live, Howard, in the Bay Area, the big Cal-Stanford game was wiped out because of that also, I believe. So they're going to play that game on Saturday as well.
All right, well, let's talk about some. And you make a great point, and I think that that's something that everybody needs to know, is that just because it's there doesn't mean you have to bet it. You really have to be a lot more selective with the games that you're picking right now. I mean, it gets to that point where you really have to focus on a much more narrow field. So
everyone's betting the same games. Everyone's betting them. That's the reason why. And a lot of people compare betting somewhat to DFS. And look, some people have good luck when it comes to the short slate of using only a couple of games. Some people prefer that. They say that. Why? I don't know. I mean, it seems like there's more luck involved to me with everyone's picking the same people. Some people will tout, "Oh, I'm great on Monday night." I mean, okay, if that's your thing, I mean, then so be it. But there's luck involved just by picking Monday night too. It's like the same thing with me this year, with me saying, which is true, that out of the whole season, we can go back and check, out of the 15 weeks in college, totals that I've given out are probably almost 80%. I mean, I must have hit 9 out of 11 or something like that. But next year we can easily go 2-9. I mean, that's just the way. Some of this, there is luck involved, and you can't oversimplify when the games start getting narrowed down. Now, the good news is that next week the bowl games will all be released, and there'll be 40 games, and we'll know the spreads way in advance for those games. So when we do our bowl game preview, we'll be able to actually give out these 40 picks. Kind of like waiting a month before the college football season starts. You know what the lines are for week 1. We're going to know all the lines for all the college football games well in advance. So we're going to have to dive into that. Coaches are being fired and players are leaving the schools. There's so much happening that we have to pay attention to. And by the way, another big factor in this, Howard, is the travel time. Some of these kids are going to be playing near where they play school, in their schools. So, and that's always a big advantage in college bowl games too, just playing at home.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right, well, let's talk about this week. Let's talk about some of the games that we're looking at, some of the lines that we're looking at. Alabama, Georgia, SEC championship here. Um, Always a big one. Alabama favored only by 13, Craig. I mean, it's got to be double digits because it's Alabama.
Yeah.
But only 13. That line looks a little low to me.
Yeah, Alabama wiped out Auburn. Usually that's a good game in a rivalry game last week. Alabama's #1 team in the country. For Georgia to qualify for the college football playoff, they're going to have to win this game outright. It's a tough task for them. Ironically, Howard, if Alabama loses to Georgia, Alabama, this is almost, I know it sounds crazy, a bye week. Alabama's in the Final Four no matter what happens in this game, even if they lose to Georgia. So they'll go from 1 to like 4. And so they're still going to be playing, more or less the same opponent who they were, because Clemson will move ahead of them for sure. They're undefeated. Notre Dame will move ahead of them. They're undefeated. And a one-loss Alabama team will probably be 3 or 4. And Georgia will be in as well, if that ends up happening this week. But the line in terms of betting is Alabama -13. If Georgia loses, they're out. They'll still play in a big bowl game. Clemson takes on Pittsburgh this week in the ACC championship. Clemson is the #2 seed right now. As they move to the playoff, they're -26 against Pittsburgh.
I actually want to go back to Bama for a second here. Sorry, I don't mean to pull you off track, but almost a bye week. Are you potentially suggesting that maybe Alabama takes their foot off the gas? Who would be the team? Who would be the team? Let's say if Bama loses, then Georgia gets in and they're part of the Final Four.
Correct.
If Bama wins, who do you think steps up next?
That's where we're getting. We're going to get there. We're on our way there right now. We're getting
instant gratification. I am a snowflake.
I don't know. It could be Ohio State. Let's take it game by game. So Clemson plays Pittsburgh. They're the #2 seed. They're -26. Clemson, all they need to do is win to get in. So there's a different, that's a line where the line is 26, and you have to ask yourself at one point, would they pull some starters? There's a big difference there. Pittsburgh's not good. Pittsburgh just got whacked by Miami this past week, but Clemson's been killing teams all season long. But if they're up 21, Howard, in the 4th, what would be the purpose of, as you said, putting your foot on the pedal when you know that you're going to be playing in the playoff? You just want to keep your guys healthy. It's like a week 16 or week 17 in the NFL. It's very similar. Texas plays Oklahoma for the Big 12 championship. There are some people who feel that if Oklahoma beats Texas and Alabama, Howard, beats Georgia, then Oklahoma would be in the Final Four. There's some people who feel that. They're -12 over Texas. They'll play for the Big 12 championship. But the other team that's in the mix now, because Ohio State last week, we talked about, as a 5-point underdog, Urban Meyer's always great as an underdog. They ended up crushing Michigan. And there are some people who think that Ohio State, with a win over Northwestern, is going to be in the Final Four. And they're going to get in. Some people think they get in regardless, no matter what happens, as long as they win this week against Northwestern. That's the Big Ten championship. And then, of course, the poor UCF Knights, who haven't lost a game in 2 years. They're ranked in the top 10. They lost their quarterback, Mackenzie Milton, and he is, Heisman Trophy candidate potentially, but now his entire career is in jeopardy with the leg injury that he had last week. They're going to play a different quarterback this week. He's had pretty good success. They play Memphis. UCF would have been a 10-point favorite. They're -3.5. UCF is like the darling of college football. Everyone wants to kind of get them into the Final Four because they feel like they got screwed last year. They went undefeated. They didn't get in there. For UCF to get in, they would have to win. Texas would have to beat Oklahoma. Northwestern would have to beat Ohio State. And Alabama would have to beat Georgia. And then UCF would probably get into the Final Four. Odds of that happening, I would think, are none. But stranger things have happened, so we'll have to see. I think there are a lot of people that are rooting for UCF, given the circumstances and also given the fact that their quarterback got hurt last week. So we'll see. I don't see it happening, but UCF will play in a major bowl game again this year.
All right, so Alabama basically sitting with all the power. They can either let in Georgia or not let in Georgia.
Absolutely.
Out of these teams now, who does Alabama want to see in the Final Four? Do they want to see? Is it Georgia? Is it Oklahoma? Is it going to be Ohio State or UCF? Who would they prefer to have in there? Obviously, maybe UCF without their quarterback. But
Of course. But they're not going to get in. I think the most realistic team that they could wax would be Ohio State. Ohio State has had one win all season long, and it was against Michigan. They just haven't looked good all season. And there are a lot of people who are really anti-Ohio State getting into the Final Four, but there may be no choice in the matter based on the way that the polls are. I think the other part of this is that, Howard, if Alabama loses, there is that chance that their strength of schedule is still good enough that would put them maybe 2 or 3, which would have them play against Notre Dame, as opposed to moving all the way back down to 4 if they lost to Georgia, and then they play Clemson. Alabama does not want to play Clemson in that first round of the playoff because that's the team potentially that could beat them. They beat them a couple of years ago in the championship. Last year in the college football championship, Alabama played Georgia. Georgia took them right down to the wire, and then all of a sudden, Nick Saban put in this backup quarterback, Tua Tagovailoa, and now he's the Heisman Trophy winner, and he went on to be the best quarterback in all of college football. So I don't think anyone's beating Alabama. People are saying that if Alabama plays Clemson in the final, they'll be 7 or 7.5 point favorites on that Monday night, January the 7th. I tend to agree with them, but I would not rule out Clemson beating Alabama. They've done it before. It was with Deshaun Watson. Obviously, they don't have him anymore, but this is a very strong Clemson team.
Beautiful. Any of these games that you're kind of eyeballing for our picks this week? I know you don't like to bet on these big.
Not yet. I'm going to have to dig for these. This is going to be difficult because I'm going to be on a public side of some kind. But there are a couple of the lesser games that aren't championship games that are being played, and those may be the kind that I dive into. And, again, finding out which coaches may be gone or which teams may have to make some changes. But, not really, to be honest with you, early on in the week. When it gets to this time of the year, I know that I'm going to be on a public side of some kind. It's just there isn't a lot. And even with the bowl games, too, those lines are tight, man. They're not going to move a lot unless a coach gets fired or we find out a player or two gets suspended. That's going to happen. At some point in the bowl season, Howard, we're going to be sitting here, and there's going to be announced that, 6 guys are not playing in the bowl game because they went out and partied. It happens every year like this. So if you can get in on that line before it changes, that's, the whole key.
All right. Beautiful. Beautiful. Well, we'll track it all. And then again, as always, on Friday, Craig and I reconvene here and we'll give you our 3 college picks. In the meantime, let me zip on over and start looking at some of the live lines over at BetDSI right now. Start talking a little NFL because, man, I was looking at the lines earlier and, neither one of us like laying a ton of points here. But, some of these games, Craig, ridiculous. Kansas City against Oakland in Oakland. Last I saw it was minus 15 for Kansas City.
That's what it is. A 15-point favorite on the road. The thing is with Oakland, Howard, is that last week against Baltimore, Oakland was the right pick. Oakland was covering that game right up until the last minute. And I don't know who it was, but somebody fumbled on the Raiders, and the Ravens, ran it all the way back for a touchdown. I think they had 2 defensive touchdowns in that game.
Must have been Doug Martin.
I think they had 2 defensive touchdowns in that game. So Oakland was really the right side in that one. But, man, how can you take them at home against Kansas City? I don't know. That's the one big 15-point line. Seattle's minus 10. The Rams are minus 10. Green Bay minus 14. How does Green Bay come off being 14? Arizona's looked horrible, though, yeah.
Yeah, Arizona's looked atrocious. But, listen, I tell you, that would be a game where I would actually consider taking the points only because I don't like Green Bay's run defense, and Arizona's got to go David Johnson all the way in this one here. But
Arizona was beating San Diego at one point in that game. I'm like, maybe that was a good pick. Plus 12. Boom, they get destroyed. By the Chargers. I hate the big lines too, just like you. What stands out to me a little bit, at least early on in the week, is, again, no matter how many games in a row they win, and last night was the most impressive of all of the games they played. I'll give them that. I'm still not a fan of Houston. I am not, again, 97-yard touchdown. That's an anomaly. It doesn't happen a lot. You can't eliminate these things from the game plan, but understand that it's rare when something like that happens. You take that touchdown away, all of a sudden, Tennessee's right there to cover. Cleveland's playing well. I don't know that I would lay 6 points against the Browns right now. They're playing good football. So that's the
I don't think I would lay 6. I wouldn't lay 6 points against the Browns. Not at all. Browns definitely. I'm not going to sit here.
Watson looks like the guy that we thought he was going to be like that. When I watched that game last night, I was like, wow, okay, where's that been?
Well, I mean,
could hurt, I guess, right?
the momentum totally shifted. Like right before it was that goal line stance or whatever, you could call it the 3 yard line stance in the second quarter, where it was like the right before the turnover on downs, where Vrabel, for whatever reason, decided he was going to hand the ball off to backup tight end Luke Stalker, and that was suddenly going to be the way they were. Excuse me, they were going to sneak into the end zone there, and that was a disaster. And then, literally, like a play later, they turned it over on downs, and Lamar Miller just went through. That took all the wind out of the sails for Tennessee.
Yeah, it was
the problem
over.
with Tennessee for us, and it's been like this throughout the season, is that here's a team that we can't put our finger on.
No,
I mean, they're so inconsistent. They turn around, they beat the Patriots, they beat the Cowboys, and then they turn around and they drop a pair of games that they had the potential of. There's zero ground action here with Derrick Henry and Deion Lewis. I don't know what to expect out of these guys. And Matt LaFleur, I'm sorry. Matt LaFleur is the perfect example of an offensive coordinator who thinks he's the smartest guy in the room wherever he goes and tries to outthink everybody and calls Luke Stalker's number to hand the ball off there.
Yeah, I think that could be a move Tennessee does have to get more inventive with their offense. It's a dull offense. The Rams are coming off a bye, as we mentioned. They're at Detroit. Detroit at this point is all but packed it in. It looks like Marvin Jones out for the year. Who knows if Kerryon Johnson's going to play. The Jets are at Tennessee. How does Tennessee come off being 7.5? I agree with you, but it does look like a sucker bet here. It must mean Tennessee's going to win by like 50. I don't know if the line is that. The thing that I hate about this kind of week in the NFL, I mean, it's great for a lot of people who are playing fantasy who are still in it, but as a bettor, you got to find the opportunity, you got to find the line, but the games are terrible this week. I mean, they really are. Minnesota, New England is a great one. Thank goodness that Minnesota beat Green Bay to make it a great one. New England is -5, and then
what's that spread tell you though? Like, I mean, New England they put up a solid game against
hard to go
Jets.
against. I probably would lean New England here. I probably would. Minnesota is my darling team. They're like my sleeper team going into the season. I thought they would potentially get to the Super Bowl, but I can't say that after watching them even this past week against Green Bay that I would feel that way. They're great at home. But I don't know. Going to New England doesn't seem easy. And then the Chargers and Steelers, the Steelers last week, yes, they didn't win. Yes, Roethlisberger made that mistake in the end. And yes, Juju had a long touchdown. But answer me this question, Howard. If Roethlisberger does not throw that interception and the Steelers win that game, are the Chargers only 3-point or the Steelers only 3-point favorites or 3.5 over the Chargers? No way. They're more than that. So I lean Pittsburgh in this game on Sunday night. That's at least my early lean on that.
And I'm okay with that. Listen, Pittsburgh's been very, very good to us throughout this season. We've been picking them and laying points and feeling really good about it. Yeah, listen, the Chargers without Melvin Gordon, I know that Austin Eckler, he does a great job, but I mean, let's face it, it's still Melvin Gordon who sets the tone there. Joey Bosa coming back, though, that's going to end up being an interesting scenario there. The game for me, what I'm kind of curious here, the Rams against the Lions. Now, we always talk about how we don't like to lay points.
No.
Lions are terrible, though, dude. Like terrible. And I'll say this. If Aqib Talib is back for Sunday's game, then we're taking the Rams. Okay. We're taking the Rams in the Super Contest, and we're going to do that. Because if you talk to anybody who's sat and studied the Rams defense, okay, when Aqib Talib went down early on in the season and we realized that we couldn't float a safety over Marcus Peters in man-to-man coverage, then that's where all the problems started to happen for the Rams defense. If Talib comes back, you immediately can lay that safety up there to protect when Marcus Peters gets beaten by Kenny Golladay, which will probably be 100 times in that game. So but I'm telling you, man, I like it.
So let's. I mean, we'll talk more about it Friday night, but let's quickly look at this. Okay, so the big favorites are Green Bay -14, Rams -10, that's 2, Kansas City -15, that's 3, and Seattle -10, that's 4. Those are the 4 big favorites. How many of those 4 big favorites do you think we'll cover this week? Just out of curiosity.
2.
2 out of 4?
Yep.
It's possible.
Seattle and the Rams.
Seattle and the Rams, those are the ones?
I mean, listen, the funny thing is, Kansas City, it's a division game, and, laying more than 2 touchdowns,
right.
I mean, I just, that's
it's
what
very hard to do. On the road, no less, right?
Yeah, on the road. So I'm not into that one there. And then again, I said if they end up like, if David Johnson runs the ball heavily, then how much for the child? How much for the child?
You know what happens is when my daughter has these shows, these plays, she has to rehearse until like the evening time. So Hayes has got to hang out with me in the office until
Listen,
then.
man, he can chill here all
you know
he
what
wants.
you know what we did just get. I want to say for Thanksgiving, right after on Black Friday. I don't know if you were a big Pac-Man fan, but they have these new Pac-Man machines that just came out. These 3/4 Pac-Man. Oh my gosh, they're unbelievable. We got that and Galaga. Been playing that. Pretty cool.
I actually have been talking to my wife about the newest edition for the Shed when that happens here, and maybe if I have a little bit more of a lucrative second half of the season here, I can take some of that.
We'll take Tennessee again.
I want an arcade game here in the Shed with me.
I'm telling you, you really should. It was it's made by 1UP or something like that, Arcade 1UP, and they're like 3/4 scale. And I picked up Pac-Man and I picked up Galaga, and they have the other games too. So, and we put them in the house, and of course,
Hubert?
My wife.
Is there Hubert?
My wife immediately, by the way, regrets it. Like she's like, we looked at it, it felt great, and now she regrets it.
Yeah. Well, she didn't think you were going to play it 100 times a day?
That's what we do.
All right. Well, I'll tell you what. We'll end it on that note there. I'm going to keep scrolling through some of these lines and some of these over-unders because I definitely want to talk more over-unders with you when we hit these games on Friday. But in the meantime, guys, enjoy the week. Follow the lines. Check out BetDSI. Register over there. Again, fantasyalarm.com/bet. Use the promo code ALARM100. You get 100% match on your deposit. So
yeah, let me say, and also BetDSI.com does sponsor my radio podcast as well, in addition to this Wager Alarm stream. And for those of you who do wager, and as Howard mentioned, not only do they match the bonus up to 100%, but also you can bet on anything, which includes live wagering. And what I would advise a lot of you guys, especially if you're tailing on the picks, you can go over to BetDSI.com. And if we take a pick and you notice in the first half, it looks like it's not going to come in, and we picked something that you guys like, what you can do is during the game, they have live spreads and live lines that you can bet at that moment. So, for example, if your team is down 21-0, you can bet the team down nothing +7. They end up coming back and winning. You can get points right there, and that's a big part of what wagering is, and also all the proposition bets for Major League Baseball, where Bryce Harper is going to end up, where Manny Machado is going to end up, and the futures to win the college basketball championship. Duke right now is the favorite to win that, and as we go further on our Wager Alarm streams, we'll talk about some of the futures bets that you can make at BetDSI also.
Absolutely. All right. Well, that's going to do it for us here tonight on the Wager Alarm live stream. For Craig Mish, I'm Howard Bender. We'll catch you guys next time.